I'm going to take us to the next portion of our event here. And this next panel is truly something special. Not only do we have one of the leading voices in diabetes joining us, but we also have our Healthy Vision ambassadors. And there is nothing better to me than actually hearing from my tribe, people who are thriving. And so I'd like to introduce Kelly Close, who is the founder of Close Concerns. She's also the chair of the Diatribe Foundation. And Kelly's passion for driving change and providing support and impact in the diabetes community is unparalleled. She is a powerhouse. And so with no further ado, I'm going to kick it over to you, Kelly Close.
Great. Hi, everyone. And we're trying to start our video here. Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Just such kind and generous introduction. And thank you to all of the experts. It's really been cool to hear from you. I especially really appreciate the focus on affordability and access and patience. Thank you so much for so many patients joining us from outside. I know we can change that 50%. So we just want to say as well from our panel of patients, it's amazing to be here in community. And, you know, just with such a cool panel of participants, and thank you ADA for making sure that patients have a voice. I'm so lucky to be joined here with the ambassadors of the Focus on Diabetes initiative. This is really cool to see, and seeing this propelled by ADA again, and having patients really at the center. And, you know, having a patient leader as CEO has been so inspirational to all of us. ADA's just incredible eye health ambassadors are going to introduce themselves now and their unique connections to diabetes and eye health.
Hi, my name is Patricia. I'm living with type 1 diabetes. I'm here to share my story of vision loss.
Hi, my name is Natalie. Thank you so much for having me participate. And I'm here to share my experience living with diabetic retinopathy.
And hello, my name's Roger Hare. Thank you for having us. It's a great opportunity, and I'm here to share my story living with type 2 diabetes.
And thank you all for your leadership and for your sharing your stories with all of us today. So let's just start the conversation by asking all of you really to share your connection to eye health, how you came to be diagnosed with a diabetes-related eye disease, and maybe what symptoms you did or didn't have at the time. How'd you feel when you were diagnosed? Patricia, let's start with you.
Okay, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes as a teenager, and as all of you know, it changed my life, but I made the best of it. I've gone on to be a Pilates instructor and a personal trainer, and I've owned my own Pilates studio and personal training studio for 23 years. In my 40s, I started to experience retinal issues. I had some retinal bleeds, had some laser surgeries, 6 in each eye, and then I started experiencing you know, a retinal detachment. I had 3 surgeries, each a month apart, to try and save my eye, and this was in 2003. During the 3rd surgery, I had a low blood sugar, I had a stroke, and I went into a coma. And a few days later, I woke up from the coma, and I was left side paralyzed, and I'd lost my left eye. So I've been living with that for 17 years now, but I had a prosthetic eye made. This is this eye, and it makes me look normal. I put it in during the day, and I know that type 1 diabetes has stolen my vision, but I'm here, and I hope to be able to share my symptoms I felt, as well as raise awareness about the important measures people can take to preserve their eyesight.
Thank you so much, Patricia, for talking to us about how it made you feel, and for trying to influence all of us other many patients out there. And Natalie, we'll go to you next, please.
Sure. So I've been diabetic for almost 30 years. So I really don't remember a time before being diagnosed. I kept it very hidden for the high majority of my life. They first noticed diabetic retinopathy in my eye a few years ago, but it was very minor, no vision issues, and there wasn't actually anything for me to do, and I didn't really understand it. That all changed this past November. I woke up one day, couldn't see properly out of my right eye. I just thought it was something else. I was running around that morning, changed the contact, quickly realized it was serious, and scheduled an emergency eye appointment. Eye appointments have always been really giving me a lot of anxiety, but I knew I had to go. It was very clear that there was an issue. It turns out that I had a hemorrhage in my right eye, which is why I could not see. When they put the eye chart up, not only could I read nothing on it, but I couldn't even see it. So ever since then, I've been getting eye injections, first once a month, now every other month, which is a lot better. And getting the vision back was very, very slow at first, and it was very frustrating, but it has gradually gotten a lot better. It's still a little bit fuzzy, but I am very optimistic and very grateful of all the improvements that have been made over eye health.
Wow, I wonder if you could just say a little more about what it's like to get an eye injection. I know that we hear a lot about it, but we don't necessarily, if we haven't been part of it, know exactly what happens.
Yeah, so I was very scared and anxious when I heard eye injections. I mean, I'm very used to giving myself insulin injections and other things, but that's because I'm used to it. I know what that feels like. So to hear about your eye, it does feel a lot. Definitely first speak to your doctor about what the procedure is like and any risks or concerns that you have. But for me, what I've noticed is that the good news, there are going to be a lot of numbing drops. So my eye is relatively numb by the time they get the injection, and it's not a long procedure. I just make sure to take a lot of care and grace with myself that day and the following day. But I want you to know, if you are someone that heard the news, that you're definitely not alone in the eye injection procedure. I met so many people after I came open about it and talked about it, and you can definitely have eye injections and still live a very fulfilled life.
Oh, yeah, thank you so much. That is, you know, it's really good to hear the specifics. And I think you're so right. Sometimes we as patients just are silent about the things that are hard. So we'll talk to you and Patricia and Roger more about that in a minute or two. Roger, turning it over to you, please.
Sure. One of the things that I guess of the three of us, I'm the newbie to the group. I was officially diagnosed with type 2 diabetes just over a year ago. It was June 11th of 2019. For about 6 months prior to that, my journey started where December of 18, I noticed that my eyesight was starting to go. I've never worn glasses up until a year and a half ago. I've always had 20/20 vision, and I just started to notice, especially at night when I'm driving, I couldn't see. And so I scheduled an eye exam, and you know, of course, everyone says, how old are you? I said, well, I'm 40, I'm 44 going on 45. And they said, oh, welcome to the club. You know, everyone gets glasses when they're, you know, when they're in their 40s. And so I went and I got a pair of glasses. I did get the eye drops, and I did get the test. There was no retinopathy or anything, but it was just enough. The sugars were enough, elevated enough to start making a difference. But at that time, I still didn't even think about it being diabetes. I had a family member whose husband was type 1 diabetic. And I happened to, about 4 months later, I was talking to my cousin and telling her that, you know, look, I'm drinking excessively. I have glasses. You know, extreme fatigue. I started telling her some of the stuff that was going on with me. And she said, Roger, she said, when was the last time you got your blood sugars checked? I said, well, I said, it's been a while. She said, do me a favor, go get checked out. And so I scheduled an appointment with an endocrinologist that she recommended, and my A1C came back at 12.7, and my fasting glucose was 283. And I remember when the doctor called me, I said, that can't be right. I said, with those numbers, I should be dead. You know, I said, but in reality, what I'm not telling you is that my story with diabetes started about 10 years ago. 10 years prior is I was diagnosed as being borderline. You know, and my A1C was 6.2, 6.3, and just like any typical 30-something-year-old guy who's otherwise healthy, I ignored everything. You know, I'm one of those people who was pre-diabetic that chose to do nothing about it. Didn't get eye exams, and so I'm living today with the complications of not doing anything. But you know, with a lot of hard work, and so I've gone. You know, I'm getting my annual eye exams. Doctor did say that I'm having the beginnings of a cataract, but so far that's been under control. But you know, after 4 months, I lost 40 pounds. I got my A1C back down to 6.3, and you know, it just you know, I'm doing stuff like this just to get the message out that, you know, there are plenty of people out there like me that you know, as Tracy mentioned, it's a silent disease. You know, people, you don't feel bad, so you know, you don't do anything until you start feeling bad. And I started feeling bad, and that's when you know, I'm thankful that it didn't get too bad for me before I decided to do something about it.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing all of that. I think it's also just there's not enough awareness about diabetes in general out there. And so people, you know, don't really know that what symptoms they might be able to avoid. I know there are also a lot of what's called disease modifying treatments actually in development. And that's really exciting as well, you know, meaning that even if our eyesight gets worse, we have complications, all of that, that some of that could change. There's a lot of investment in this area. But, you know, all of your stories are really very educational and inspirational. I'm sure they're going to stay with all of us here today and the many people joining us. I think we'd also just love to hear a little more about life, you know, after diagnosis of the eye conditions. If you all might be willing to share with us, you know, how'd your life change? Were there resources that helped you manage retinopathy, blindness, you know, other diabetes related eye conditions? Maybe we can go back and start with Patricia.
Yes, I'd love to. Well,
Thank you.
I know that for many people with diabetes, we fear the complications, and my eye certainly was one of them. And after my eye loss, I felt sorry for myself. But my boyfriend, now my husband, he made me move. He made me go back to ballroom dancing, and he took me to my very favorite place in the world, Walt Disney World, and made me walk around so that I recovered from the stroke. And he challenged me to run a Disney half marathon 6 months after I had the stroke and the eye loss. And 6 months after we ran the Disney half marathon together, he held my hand the whole way through, and he helped pull me across the finish line. And afterwards, he proposed to me. I've got a Mickey room. He proposed to me in front of Cinderella's castle and asked me to marry him. And being a Pilates instructor myself, I use my own skills to help rehab myself and help myself function again. And then I was lucky to get my prosthetic eye 6 months, you know, after I healed, because they make you wait till you heal, in time for me to walk down the aisle with a prosthetic eye. Yeah. And since I've become I've continued to teach clients, and I've become a balanced body Pilates master instructor trainer, where I teach clients from all over, teach teachers from all over the world how to become instructors. So that's what I do in spite of being blind in one eye. And this all was manageable by my huge support system, including my husband, my determination, and my ongoing work with endocrinologists, diabetes educators, registered dietitians, and of course, my eye doctors.
Wow, Patricia, that's really incredible. I've never been a runner, but you're inspiring me to pick it up. Traveling has been my passion always. I actually was in Italy 2 weeks before I had my eye hemorrhage, so really good timing. I was actually back home when it happened. I did put it on pause, all my traveling on pause afterwards, and then COVID occurred, but I am really excited and ready myself to start traveling again. I like to explore the world. If you're diabetic and nervous about traveling, you could definitely do it. You just need to be prepared. One of the other important things that I've learned through my eye challenges and just being diabetic is the mental health aspect, as Patricia mentioned. Definitely therapy has helped me a lot. There's a lot of really good groups. Instagram has been a great source for me to feel more connected to people, since I can't travel right now, instead I've been doing Zoom theater, which you also can't go to in person, salsa dancing, and just writing and connecting with people. Very grateful for technology during this time.
Yeah, I so hear you. Such a way for us to connect. Roger, do you have any other thoughts?
I think for me, it's just building a team. You know, someone once said it takes a village, and for me, it was surrounding myself with a support network, and whether it was the doctors, whether it's the eye doctor, whether it's an endocrinologist, whether it's my family doctor, but a good friend of mine, 3 years ago, I had a knee operation, tore my ACL and my LCL, and so spent 9 months in physical therapy. And I called up my physical therapist and asked him if he'd meet me at the gym twice a month to hold me accountable to exercise. And he ended up, up until COVID happened, he was going to the gym with me 2 to 3 times a week. So to me, it's just about building that support network. You can't do it by yourself. You know, and so that's what's gotten me through it.
Yeah, I hear you, and just asking for the support. I also just have been, you know, really moved by hearing everyone's, you know, being open to maybe perceived as a little bit vulnerable. And I know I have learned a lot from all of you. I was wondering if you could also share with us just your day to day, like how you measure your blood sugar specifically is something I'm curious about. If you have access to continuous glucose monitoring, or how you watch the numbers, because I get it that is so important in addition to obviously making sure we're making the appointments and getting to them.
Well, I use a glucose monitor. I haven't stepped into the world of the one you have, Natalie, but I do monitor my blood sugars. I do have hypoglycemia awareness, so I am aware when my blood sugars are going up and down.
Yeah.
So I've had a CGM, I have a Dexcom. I've had it for 2 years. I was very hesitant about having something on my body. I was also nervous about too much information, but it has completely changed my life. I feel so secure with it, especially going to sleep where I used to have a lot of lows. I do normally wake up on my own, but just having the extra level of knowing and tracking and kind of taking away this pressure I had on myself where I was like, oh, I have a bad number. Sometimes your body just behaves differently. I could have the same day, I could do the same things, but my sugar levels could be different. So being able to manage it before it gets to a level that's too high or too low has really improved my overall life.
And for me, being type 2, I just use test strips for right now. But one of the things that my body, you know, talking about your body gives you signals as to when things are wrong. I know through my vision when my blood sugar's high. You know, there's times where, you know, I normally test it once in the morning, but there's plenty of times when I come home from work, I'll test it again because my vision's a little on the blurry side. And it's normally a very good indicator that my blood sugar's on the high end, is listening to what your body's telling you.
Yeah, I hear you. I know there are so many different ways that people have benefited from getting access to continuous monitoring. I know it's really helped me. I've had diabetes almost 35 years, and it's gotten a lot easier to use too. So I was psyched to hear that you had tried that, Natalie. But Roger, you might even there's a cool new professional CGM, and that might be something great to see. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a doctor, I'm supposed to say that, but I know I have heard Dr. Gabay say so many times it's all about reducing barriers and doing better, having better outcomes by reducing barriers for us as patients. So I know that I've been really moved by. I wonder, just in closing, if there's one thing that you would like to leave with our audience, what would that be? And we can start with Natalie and end with Patricia, and Roger, put you in the middle if it's good.
First of all, trust yourself. You definitely know your body better than anybody else. So if something feels off, acknowledge it and find the best way to find help.
I agree with Natalie. Just listen to yourself and don't wait. Don't neglect yourself. You You know, if you feel something's wrong, there's a good chance there's something wrong, and find some help.
I would agree with all of that. And because I've had vision loss, I just want to say, do be sure you get your annual eye checks. And do, as Roger said, I can tell when my blood sugar levels are going up with blurred vision. So again, stay tuned to your body and monitor your blood sugars. And I gotta say, because I teach it for a living, please exercise, as you are doing right now, Kelly.
Well, you know, thank you so much, ambassadors, for being so open with us all today about your personal stories. It meant so much. I mean, we're all learning so much, and depending on what our own path is in diabetes and in caring for our eyes, I'm learning a lot from you. I like the lingo about eye health. I'm always terrified when I go to my ophthalmologist, and I'm going to be less so now. I'm totally hearing you about making the appointments and just getting the key about how our blood sugar and how much that really is connected. So thank you for that. I also just sense like being organized, and Roger, you just saying about being aware and getting the team and all of that. So I believe it. I know it's also sometimes it's maybe even a little bit hard for any of us to think about, you know, eye disease, or for us to kind of imagine life with eye disease. But you guys, like, your vulnerability and willingness to share just means so incredibly much. So thank you for your leadership on that. And thank you to the Focus on Diabetes Initiative for having us all join this panel. And we'll send it back to the experts. Thank you.
I just wanted to chime in, if I can, and give a big thank you to all of you. Wow, everything that you shared, we so appreciate you. And I think, Kelly, you mentioned it, being vulnerable and sharing your stories, and not just sharing the health aspect of your story, but the personal aspect, because it's all about the whole person, right? And I think just you being able to share your stories is so educational and helpful to so many other people. And I know inspiring for us in this field to hear firsthand stories such as yourselves. So thank you.
And if I may add, you know, I echo what you just said, Kate. It's really inspiring to hear from, and actually, if you allow me, guys, the expert, because you are the expert, you know, really the true expert is a patient. And it's very inspiring to see how you were able really to manage your disease, but also share these stories with us. It inspires me that there will always be at least a good outcome if we do the right thing. So thank you for all what you do.
Yeah, let me just add another thank you. I am just blown away by how you all are just thriving. It's so very inspiring. And why this is so important is because when you are diagnosed with diabetes, right, we probably all remember the day, the time, the 1,000 things that go through your head. And then you start to think that, you know, maybe, oh man, my life is over, or some such thing. And I just have to say, Patricia, Natalie, and Roger, you guys are rock stars. And look, I'm already normally pumped up, but after like listening to you, I'm even more pumped up. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for living your life out loud and inspiring all of us. So y'all are great. Great, great, great.
Thank you.
Okay, so Kelly, thank you very much for facilitating that part of the panel. I know we wanted to get to some open questions. So I see that we have a few questions here, but I will say to anyone who's still listening, if you have questions, please type them into the Q&A box, and I will make sure to get these questions answered. So let me see. Okay, there are some questions and some comments. Let me get to a question first here. From Sarah. My family has no history of type 1 diabetes, but my grandfather developed onset type 2 and glaucoma. Does that mean I'm at more risk for either disease? So Any of the doctors want to take a stab at that?
Sure, I can do that. So, it's a great question. Type 2 diabetes certainly has a very strong genetic component. So if someone in your family has had type 2 diabetes, your chance of having type 2 is much higher. And that's why, the 60-second risk test is probably worth just checking into to see what other risks you may have. In terms of type 1 diabetes, it's much less of a risk. And one of the questions we get quite often is, if a parent has type 1, what's the chance of their child having type 1? Because obviously they're concerned. Unfortunately, it's only 5%. So there's a 95% chance that their child won't have type 1 diabetes.
Okay, thank you. Let's see here. There were a couple of questions, and I don't know if everybody can see the answers here, so I'm going to just ask these questions as well. There was a question around what is the difference between an eye exam and a comprehensive eye exam? Anyone?
I can take that. I was one of the typed answers if you'd like me to.
Please.
Yeah, a comprehensive eye exam includes the dilated eye examination part, so we can look in the back of the eye and evaluate what we call the fundus, the retina, and the structures in the back, and the media, the middle parts of the eye. And it also includes a complete vision eye evaluation and a health evaluation. So it's basically soup to nuts, and it's not a 15-minute quickie. It usually takes a bit of time, but that's what gives us the best picture, the best clinical information, so that we can make the best recommendations on prognosis and what's going to happen in the future.
Okay, thank you. Another question here that was typed in, but I'll just read it just in case everyone's not reading here. Back to the doctors. What are your thoughts on patients with diabetes that also develop chronic uveitis? Thank you. Because really, I'm not a doctor. Of no known cause. Could type 2 diabetes, well controlled, have played a part in causing this eye condition? And Dr. Grover, I see that you typed this one in. Do you want to start us off? And then if anyone has any additional?
Oh yeah, my answer was quick and short, and I would love for Dr. Gebe to take it. It basically says that the poorer your glycemic control, the higher the risk is of having that. So please take it away.
I don't have anything really more to add. So much of the sort of challenges that people with diabetes can develop are really worsened by high blood sugars. And that's why controlling blood sugars and keeping them in range is really the overall goal.
And I'm just going to add a little bit to that. So as you know, uveitis is an infection, infection, injury, or even possible autoimmune or inflammatory disease. And when you look at diabetes, that is part of the inflammatory process of our bodies. So it could be linked, but I'm sure your primary care doctor or your specialist that you're working with will hopefully do the right blood panels to see what category it lies in. But because diabetes is inflammatory, it can also cause that. But just to echo what the team said.
Awesome, thank you. Here is another question that says, I had 20/20 vision all of my life. At 57, I wear glasses for all distances. I don't see everyone my age needing glasses all the time, mostly for presbyopia. I get an eye exam every year and apparently everything else is okay. Is this normal? Blood sugar levels are normal. Thoughts? Any of the doctors?
Yeah, that's good news.
That's
what we like to hear.
patients always like to compare themselves with their friends or their loved ones. Oh, well, they're wearing glasses and they're over 40, or they're not wearing glasses and they're 50 and I'm only 42. You know, I think everybody needs to realize that vision care is more than just eyeglasses and contacts. And to go beyond thinking that, you know, if I have a prescription, I'm going to be more prone for a certain, you know, ailment of diabetes. It's the fact that you need those glasses in order to see clearly up close. But regardless of that, you need to have that comprehensive eye exam with that dilation for a diabetic patient, even if you are well controlled. So natural progression of presbyopia, as you know, most of us will experience, and the other half may live in denial about it, but that's okay. But it is a process of natural aging. So I guess I have embraced it, and a lot of us on the panels have embraced it. So as long as we get those dilated exams, take a look at that retina, use powerful imaging and the doctor's expertise, we should be keeping that vision as healthy as possible.
Super. Kate, question for you. You started off the event by talking about the importance of eye exams. The question is regarding children. Thoughts on when children should have their first eye exam?
Absolutely. Children should have their first eye exam at 6 months, and a lot of people don't realize that. So anybody who knows family or friends who have little ones, remind them of that. And then again at 3 years and before starting school, and then every year after that, back to annual eye exams.
Fantastic. Let me see, I'm looking through. Okay, while I continue to scroll through some of these questions, there is one that's relatively easy, and that question was the goal of the Focus on Diabetes initiative, and that one I can take, and then you know, Dr. Amir or Kate, feel free to jump in. But really the aim about this was really threefold: raising the awareness of diabetes related eye disease, providing support and education. As we know, those are key to you being able to manage, and then educating healthcare professionals about diabetes related eye disease. So
yeah, and if I may add, it's reinforcing that, you know, the earlier you go and you see your physician, once you have a diagnosis, the more we're able to do something about it, because of the preventable blindness that caused by diabetic eye disease. So there is a big opportunity for us to help the sooner we know. So really education, increase awareness, and making sure you get your comprehensive eye exam annually, but also as regularly as needed.
awesome.
And I would just add to that. I think what we've been experiencing the last hour and a half together is exactly the type of work that we'll be doing together on the Focus on Diabetes initiative, because it is all about raising that awareness and finding all the opportunities to do that and get people in for their annual eye exams and make certain that they can get the care that they need, and make certain that we keep people as healthy as possible.
Super.
I
So
just wanted to say one quick thing, if I could, Tracy. I mean, to all of these experts, every patient out there, every family member, hearing them all talk about eye health rather than, you know, eye disease. I mean, I think it's a good way of saying this. I mean, all of our ambassadors are working on their eye health. So I love that, and just wanted to say thank you. Diatribe.org/eye also has been so inspired by ADA, and we've written a lot about eye health for Healthy Vision Month, and again, to be led, you know, by Tracy Brown, a patient. We just could be more proud.
thank you. So if you just heard that ding, that was my ding that says we're wrapping up and out of time, and I just want to one more time thank everyone for participating in this. I think this is just the beginning of a conversation. And again, this is about us taking action. You know, go to the website, ihealth.diabetes.org. There's lots of information there. To our ambassadors, to our expert panel of doctors, to our visionary partners, a tremendous thank you. And if I could leave everyone with one thing, it is again that just as I started, the conversations around well-being and cost and access and eye health all point back to diabetes. This isn't just a person living with diabetes problem. This is all of our problem. And I am reminded, certainly not that we need any additional reminders, but you know, the late Congressman Lewis talked about the fact that he urges all of us to answer the highest calling of our hearts and stand up for what we truly believe. Every single person on this panel is that. We have more work to do as it relates to improving and helping people improve their lives in this country. And I'm grateful for the partnership. And with that, Kate and Dr. Amir, I give you each a word and then we will close.
I just want to say another big thank you, and just I feel so motivated. I think everybody who's been on this call feels inspired and motivated to do that important work that you're talking about. So thank you for the partnership.
Thank you.
And the same here, you know, really thank you for the opportunity and the partnership. I'm more inspired that, you know, there is more to be done, but I feel that we can do more and we can really help maintain that vision, the valuable senses that we all want to keep in order to continue living our beautiful, lovely life. And I echo what Kate said at the beginning, and Kelly actually reinforced that we love to continue seeing your smile. So preserve your vision. Thank you.
Awesome. ihealth.diabetes.org. Be well and stay well, everybody. We'll see you later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You.